Have a seat. I made a fire, you see?
I'm really jealous with you. How can you retain this much of the customers stay with you until noontime now? You have lots of energy, I can
so
see.
many interesting things
Right?
that we learned. So, well, how was your trip? Welcome back.
Well, it's great. So I just came back from the Microsoft kickoff, right? So New Year kickoff. Yesterday I landed from Las Vegas and so excited to be here in this big SAP event. So my great pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And congratulations for a very good event and a very high quality, as you see now. Then I keep asking myself, how can I get such quality guest speaker onto my stage in the next event? And I would welcome SAP to come and join my event later.
Oh, thank you. Well, so before we get into more conversation, everyone is using that word hyperscaler, and you know, it's such a mystery, and has a mystique to it. What actually does a hyperscaler do? I'm sure it's not PowerPoint, is it?
PowerPoint is, of course, a part of the hyperscale that we want to do, but you just point to the right things that really want to expose the whole rooms. Since I came back from the Microsoft kickoff event, where we have the so impressive presentation from our CEO Satya, where he mentions about the ambition of the company. When we talk about the hyperscale, we start first with our ambitions, right? How bold the ambitions you are, and in which he talked about the Microsoft missions to empower every individual and organization in the world in the earth to achieve more. And then he highlight about the capability of 100,000 people as employees of Microsoft. How can we serve and help 7 billion people in the world to achieve more, with the visions where we see in the coming 3 years, the whole world transform with the speed of 15 years before, right? With about practically about 500 million applications where we see the whole citizen can be developers. And we see all the enterprises in the world going to be the software company, right? So how are we ready to serve the vision and the ambition that we have, right? So then the second part of your question is about the scaler, right? So how scale you are to be able to serve the ambitions and the vision that you have, right? So as of now, you may probably know that Microsoft is actually the cloud company. We are now the biggest cloud platform, and we are bigger than the second and the third company on the world together, with about 50 data center regions. So you can imagine, how long the cable that we have to link all the data center we have.
Yeah.
You can make a guess.
Impressive.
Right? So only the C-Link, the cable under the sea, we are connecting all the data centers together, is about 100,000 miles.
My goodness.
Yes, to connect all the data of customer in the data center. Then I'm trying to share how the strong capability that we have to scale our cloud services to around the world.
Wow.
Right?
Isn't that like almost 3 times around the world?
Yes, it's about the total fiber cable that we have. Right? It's going to be like 3 times we can surround the whole Earth.
The world, yeah. Well, so how is your strategy different to those of other companies that we see here in the market? What makes you really unique?
Yeah, so I think the 2 things about the uniqueness I want to bring into discussions. One is about how Microsoft different ourselves from the rest of the cloud provider, right? So when you come to Microsoft, we talk about Microsoft being the cloud company using the cloud edge transformations with trust, and we take all the enterprises and individual as the centric of all the developments, right? Secondly, about the Microsoft strategy on moving the cloud services to the customer, I want to bring here 3 things, right? First, we remain to be the platform, and Microsoft commit to remain our field play as a platform company. We are not going to open bank, we are not going to open the retail store, we are not going to jump into any other industry, but remain as the platform company. So it means that we are not going to compete with any customers on the market, but to serve you better, right? So that's one of the big commitment that we are, going to deliver in coming years. The second thing I want to share here is, as a platform company, that we run with trust. So the trust here we we do in the two things, right? Three things actually. The first thing is actually we use a policy where Microsoft commit not to use customer data for any other things. So it's the must policy, and the trust is not something we are telling to the market, but something we are executing internally within the organization that none of Microsoft people allowed to touch the customer data. And Microsoft was actually the first cloud company to adapt and satisfy the GDPR launch about 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
And many of customers, they may not know, but we commit to that. The second thing is about the commitments, right, to gain the trust from the technology perspective. So I think we are the only company in the world having about 91 certificates from, security companies around all the government policy. And we are making 20 billion USD annually to motivate and modernize the data center, of which about 1 billion specifically for cybersecurity.
Wow.
And we used to be the second largest company being attacked globally,
Yeah.
and now we become the number one. So last year, the number one was US government, and since the US government moved their data onto Azure, we become number one now, right? So the third things about the Microsoft Cloud is about the scalability,
Yeah.
right? And then I want to make it a bit more relevant to Vietnam as a country I love to build, right? So over the last 1 year, we get 3 telco provider, right, to get the direct access from Vietnam to Azure data center, where the customer have experience to enjoy the stability and very fast connection from Vietnam to Microsoft Cloud. And so I believe that, over the last 1 year, 12 months, right? How many customers do we have now? SAP managed on Azure?
Oh, so
About like 20?
yeah.
Yeah, so I believe that, 20 customers in Vietnam over the last 1 year implement SAP on Azure. And even up to now, I didn't receive any call and say, hey, you have something wrong with your cloud.
No one called me either. Well, so let me ask you this. I think we've been friends, but we also, our companies have been actually friends for so long. What do you think, how does that make us different for our customers? What's our value that we bring to our customers because we're so close?
So it means the partnership between SAP and Microsoft is so special, right? So together we are confident to bring a very unique value to the customer, have the customer to transform faster. Why? Because we do have a common missions and strategy where both Microsoft and SAP really spend our efforts to have enterprises around the world transform much faster, right? And then by that we have about 85% of the Fortune 500, our common customer, 85%, a lot. Most of the top companies around the world using SAP and Azure together, right? So that's one. The second thing very special, where Microsoft is one of the biggest SAP customers, right?
That's
So 100,000
true.
users
Yes,
using
thank you for
SAP.
that.
And we are both running SAP on Azure.
Yes.
So SAP running your system on Azure, and so do we. So with that, Mike, you may probably see that Mike, the CIO of Microsoft Global, and Thomas recently now last week about the experience that we have using SAP on Azure globally, right? So it's very heavy workload, on Azure. Yes.
Well, I love to see this partnership, and I think it's actually, in particular for Vietnam, I think it's even better because we have been collaborating even longer than I have been here. So I can't wait to see what we else can do. Now, I think what also we just announced recently is our extended partnership about IoT and how we can bring forward SAP Leonardo utilizing the Microsoft infrastructure. So that's actually very exciting.
Yes.
And given our next room, I feel that is the right direction that we're taking right there.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So let me ask you, the customers that are on a journey to transform, what do you think are their most pressing concerns? And what are the top 3 that you can think of?
So I've been in this industry in Vietnam for such a long time, and especially during my years with SAP. So customer at first, by like 6-7 years ago, they ask whether I'm going to be successful with my SAP project. Where do I start? And what kind of preparation I need to be in terms of financial, in terms of business process, in terms of people, and so many questions they ask, and really they hesitate to move. Nowadays, happily, we see the strategic mindset come like, we have so many executives now, they commit to the transformations, right? But still, they do have a couple of concerns here. And the first thing, I think, the most important is how can I get and make more effective of utilizations on my so much of data that I have. And the data, and any enterprises here, they do have a very fast growing data, whether it's internal, external. People keep talking about, like, I love the session they had before about the social information. How can they utilize all this data? It's not only about the system that they have in the enterprises, right? So the second thing is how can I digitally transform my people, right? To get my people adapt with the new technology, not to adapt with all the changes every year that one of our customers have, but change themselves, right? So we recently have one study with IDC, right? And you make a guess on how many % of the new job to be generated out, and how many % of the current job disappear.
Oh, goodness. 30?
A lot.
A lot?
Around that. Make it bigger.
Yeah, wow, okay.
So from the study that we have with IDC recently, they said that about 60% of a new job will be generated in the coming 2 years. Those jobs doesn't exist at all today. And with that, all the digital transformation, about 26% of the current job can disappear. 26% of the job going to be disappear. But the good news is, they said also in the same time about 27 of new jobs being created in the enterprises area. It means that, there'll be more work for you, there'll be more salary paid, and by the way, in the 3 years on the road, 17.3% of the salary of the whole human resource costs will gone through IT, not the management anymore, right? To IT's workforce. So the good news is it's 27% of the new work to be generated, right? So more work, more excited work to come, and then more skill we need to have. So digital skill going to be the second concern. Third is about cybersecurity. So like I shared, we have a trust, we have the policy to protect customer data, we have the technology also to protect the customer data. So there are 3 things we need to settle whenever we go together with, so I love Leonardo initiative that we have.
It's so exciting to have you here, really. Let me ask you one last question. How does one engage with us? We are always these big players. So how do we, as customers, engage with Microsoft or with SAP?
Well, so I think never like before how easy we can access to technology now, especially with all the journey that both the companies growing very fast together with the partner market, right? So we do have all the Microsoft people here in the event and SAP people. So plus so many our partners who knows both SAP and Microsoft Cloud. It's quite accessible, and then we are more than happy to come together or individually to come to show off our solutions in your company, right? So at any time you may want to get it.
Well, you know what? It's been such an amazing day, and I've learned so much from you, from our speakers during the panel. I think we should have a toast.
Yes.
I think we should drink to
Go
jointly
yes.
power digital Vietnam. What do you think?
Yeah, let's
All
go
right.
for it. And here we would wish to have Vietnam to transform even faster than the 15 years that we have in the past globally, right?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.